music is about imperfection, because we're human beings, and humans are not perfect. And to make music perfect in a sense of hitting you in the heart, it must be imperfect.
Hello, you metal pilgrims, and welcome to the new episode of our interview series. Today I am more than happy to welcome the guitarist and songwriter of the legendary power metal band Helloween, Sascha Gerstner. Sascha and I, of course, will be speaking about the band's self-titled album and the creative process behind it, life outside of Helloween and heavy metal in general. And of course, as always, Sascha will answer some of the questions you submitted to him. A very quick note before we start though, and especially for those who are new to the channel, please do not hesitate to comment on anything you hear or see in this video. And personally, I would love to see you back on the channel for more exclusive interviews, early reviews, and overall rock and metal content. But for now, buckle up and enjoy it. Here you go. Sascha, how's it going, man? Thank you so much for finding time and speaking to me. I know you're pretty busy with a new release and everything. How's everything?
Yeah, very well so far. Lots of interviews, but it's fun. We've been isolated for such a long time, so it's great to see people and talk to people, and then also because we had a long break after the recordings finished.
Yeah.
Now to receive response and see how people are reacting, it's actually pretty nice.
Yeah,
exciting times.
Yeah, pretty cool, man. And hopefully we'll be able to meet in real life very soon with people, and live interaction will not disappear. But yeah, talking to people at least online, this is already something.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. So
touring the world, yeah, I can see it here in the background. That would be great.
Yeah, that is true, man. That is true. I guess you've been to most of the places over there.
Most of the places here, but some are missing. Yeah.
There's still room for improvement, man. All right, man. But there's big news about Helloween. Obviously, your self-titled album will be released in a couple of days now. I can't believe it. It's so soon, and it is, of course, a very special one given the band's lineup. So, can you take us back for just a little bit and remember how was it, actually working on this record with so many band members?
Well, the thing is, we had producers as well, which helped a lot because they're having a plan, so and they just wanted us to do music, so it was quite easy, I would say. Of course, it was a lot of work, and we had more time to produce, and we spent more time to try out stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that was actually more fun to do also, because there was no pressure, no time pressure or whatsoever. So yeah, it was actually pretty nice. And then also we've had lots of talks before we started producing. So we've had a meeting where we would play demos to each other. Then we would go on tour again, and then we would collect ideas again. And then we would meet to have a pre-production. And the pre-production solved a lot, because then we would sit together like a big family, like management would be there, producers, the whole band. We would listen through songs, and then, and then you kind of decide what you want to record. And that helped a lot.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And it's good to hear that you guys didn't have that, at least time pressure. But do you think there was this extra mental pressure inside your head because you knew that you can't just, create a regular album? It had to be something huge.
Yeah, to be honest, of course we knew that the album will receive a lot of focus.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we always wanted to do good records. We've always had kind of man, they might have had more pressure or felt more pressure the focus from the outside, or but we are just musicians, we're artists, we want to create something nice, and first of all we wanted to create something that we like, because we came off of this marvelous tour, we finished the tour with Rock in Rio, and we've been like in this mood of, hey, actually it would be more fun to continue the tour because it was so good, it was so much fun, and it worked out great, and we had lots of magic moments, and then when we came to the studio, we just wanted to recreate those magic moments on the album, and suddenly Charlie Bauerfeind came up with this great idea too. He said, like, I saw you guys a couple of times live, and the way you naturally balanced out guitars and vocals and everything created some magic, and I want to recreate that live feeling for the album. So that solves a lot, because that took away a lot of pressure and decisions, and so that helped a lot that someone was there who had a plan.
That's always good to have at least someone like that. But you started speaking about the Pumpkins United World Tour, man, and when did you actually know that this lineup is here to stay? I mean, was that always the plan when you went into that tour?
Well, of course, first of all, we didn't know how that would turn out, when we started, and then we've been kind of blown away by the reaction, because of course we knew for the tour the same thing as for the album. We knew that lots of people will watch us, they will look at us, and there will be a lot of focus, but we never expected it to be so successful in the first place, and it was a very successful tour, and then during the tour, there was this moment where I remember there was one day where we've been hanging out at some airport, and we've been talking about this Pumpkins United thing, and then the Pumpkins United slogan was more for the tour. It's all the Pumpkins United going on tour. Makes sense. But we've been kind of, hey, listen, can we just, for the next tour, we asked our manager, can we just like drop that Pumpkins United thing, because it's Helloween. It feels like Helloween. That's the band. It's the seven of us. That's the band. And that was one of these moments where you could clearly tell, okay, this is happening. This is a real band. We get along very well. It's working. It's magic. Why should we stop here?
This is awesome, honestly, and it's so great to hear that you guys kind of clicked, all of you together. And okay, I had a chance, of course, of listening to the album a little bit earlier than most of other mortal human beings on this earth, and I gotta tell you, I loved it. I mean, and I think it's pretty clear, from the review we posted on the show last week. And one thing that kind of struck me the most is the level of diversity on this record. Right, and I assume that is due to you having so many songwriters now. So how much of a calculation was it actually? I mean, did you actually try to include the songs to, if you want to say, please the fans of all the different Halloween eras, or it just happened to be like that?
It just happened that way. I mean, of course, it comes naturally when you have a lot of these songwriters, and we had it even before. We gained one more. It's Kai, but basically that's what it always had to be. I remember when I was about to join the band, there was one sentence that's stuck to my head when Weikath said, of course you should be a good guitar player when you want to be with Helloween, but the job description here is to write songs. It was not, just play the guitar and shut up. It was more or less like, well, if you want to be part of this band, you should write great songs. And they wanted that. And then we always did. Like, by that time, Markus came up with great songs suddenly. Andi is a songwriting machine. He's in my opinion, he has the most talent in the band. He's like he can constantly write songs just like this, in a very good level, And then you have Weikath with this amazing melodies. He always comes up with like very freaky stuff and very nice ideas. So you have lots of talent in this band, and then now that Kai is back, even more, So of course you have lots of diversity from that, and also I think because of the back catalog, when you're listening to older albums, the band always was experimenting with stuff, which was broadening up the genre a bit. Lots of people are asking, how is it to play in this legendary power metal band that is the band that was founding power metal? And I'm like, well, it's not a power metal band in that sense, I mean, there are a lot of rock songs and ballads, and you have some songs they're going into the thrash or speed metal genre, and the band is very diverse. And in 2019, when we've been on tour with Scorpions and Whitesnake, I just thought, well, we're one of these bands. It's not like this subgenre somewhere. It's a legendary band, and I could see it developing in our audience as well. You would have grandpa, dad, and and you would have 3 generations in the audience, and I figured that that's happening because we have this broad spectrum of musicality,
100%. And speaking about diversity and this forward lookingness, what I personally loved about Helloween, this album, is it is very much of a 2021 record. It is forward looking, and it's not reminiscent of some old days, yet it has this classic vibe to it that I personally love, and I guess people of my age kind of love, which you don't really get in most of power metal, records these days, and especially on the guitar front. So did you actually try to recreate this, 80s guitar tone while, and balance it with this, sounding, modern at the same time?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly how that happened, because the thing here is that we're all fans of that era, and me personally, I was growing up in the 80s. Like as a kid, I would sit in the backseat of my mother's car and listening to, when I was starting consciously listening to music, it was 80s music.
Yeah.
So and for me, that time, that era, was the peak of production. It was the peak of songwriting. It was like everything peaked there, in my opinion. And so years ago, I was starting out to collect old gear, like old studio gear. I would collect like old high-end 80s reverbs, synthesizers, guitar equipment, multi-effects, and stuff like that. And this time, because also Charlie, he likes that era as well, and this time we had the chance to use it. It was like, bring all your stuff and just be yourself, and we try out everything, and we wanted to recreate something like that because we loved that era so much. And what is happening with these old recording techniques, there's always something happening you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have it on tape. And when I'm saying tape, I mean tape. We recorded stuff on tape too, So you kind of try to recreate that, but you can't anymore because it was just happening for that moment. And so what we did, we kind of combined the digital world with the old school equipment. And this stuff is so vibey. It gives you a lots of different vibes, especially guitar equipment. It really does. And there are these imperfections which makes it more perfect, in a sense of musicality. And also with drums, Danny came up with this brilliant idea because he said, it's a reunion album somehow, and with original members, but there's no Ingo. And I want to have like one piece of Ingo in here, because he was also influencing my playing. And what about taking his old drum kit from the 80s and recording with that? So that happened. And then Charlie came up, yeah, but if you do that and we do it the right way, and we're just recording it to tape,
Oh, really?
So that's how it happened. And before, most bands nowadays don't have the chance to work that way, because normally you would have to like 2 to 3 months to finish an album, you have to go back on tour to make some money and all that stuff, you know.
Label and so on and so forth. Yeah,
exactly. And we had a luxury of time and to try out stuff and so we wanted to make it right. We knew that it's going to be a very special album for us and for our fans, and we wanted to try everything we could, you know. And that's why we went the hard way, you know. When you're working with this kind of recording techniques, there's no recall button. You can't go back. Even the mixing, we were mixing, the whole mixes were happening on an analog mixing desk, and we had the chance to listen to it, and there was just one revision for the next day, because then it's over. You know, you can't recreate the mix anymore because it's analog. So to come to an end about that story, I think that music is about imperfection, because, you know, we're human beings, and humans are not perfect. And to make music perfect in a sense of hitting you in the heart, it must be imperfect, you know, and that's what we try to achieve here, to have a live vibe and an 80s influence at the same time, to make it sound modern, so it can keep up with the standards nowadays. But it was all about the vibe and the feeling and the energy.
This is just awesome, and I'll be honest with you. One of the adjectives when I was thinking how to describe this album, and I think I even said that in the review, is that it is honest. And this is exactly, it looks like exactly like what it is. It is a very honest record. You listen to it and you believe it, and you kind of live through it together on this roller coaster of a track list, by the way, because no two of these songs are the same there. They're extremely, you know, different, all of them, yet work in synergy and kind of cohesive. And that's why I personally enjoyed it a lot, man. And do you think the pandemic had any effect on the record sound at all, or not really?
No, not really, because we've finished already. I think when the pandemic hit us, they were almost finished with vocals. And we just couldn't fly somewhere for the mix, so we had to do a streaming service and streaming the mix live. You know, everybody would sit at home listening to the mix while it was happening live, and that was the only thing. But all the recordings before that, they already happened, you know.
Okay, so not really effective, right?
No.
Yeah.
And you're personally, you know, credited officially, at least, you know, as an author of 2 songs on the record. So can you say that those are your personal favorite ones on the album, or not really?
I can't say that, because actually I'm always kind of astonished what the band picks to be on the record, because we would always write more songs, and then there would be songs you really like, and you think like, oh, they're very complex and very nice, and you know, and I can totally imagine Andy or Michael singing them. And then the band goes like, nah. And then they take another song of yours where you thought like, oh, maybe that's just a B-side, or, you know, you're not totally overwhelmed by that. And then they're like, oh, this is so awesome, we should record that, you know. And, you know, it happened a couple of times for me on other records as well, where I was almost ashamed of bringing the demo, you know. I was like, should I play it to them or not? Is it good enough? You know, you like always kind of asking yourself if it's up to the standards, you know. Because also I have to say, now also with Kai, and you have Kai, Weikath, and Markus and Andi, who are brilliant songwriters, you're always kind of asking yourself if your stuff is up to the standards. You always do that, you know. You're never like, of course my stuff is really good, you know. Here you have it. Just pick one, you know. That's not what you do. So and it's always the opposite of what you think, you know. It's always like there was this one song, I don't know if it's called if it was called that way in the end.
Best
the
Time?
Working title. No, the working title was The Bomb on some other record.
Okay.
I was writing a song which was very complex and very nice and progressive and everything, and the band just didn't like it at first. So So I think like 5 years later, I kind of reworked that song, and they suddenly liked it. So it's you always like have that moment, and with this album, it's the same thing. Best Time, for instance, it was like a synth pop song before. I was, I have this collection of old school 80s synthesizers, and I'm always kind of yeah. So I'm always kind of composing a lot with keys instead of with the guitar. I compose with keys and chords, and I'm always singing along. That's how I compose, so playing an instrument and singing. So I came up with this riff and singing the vocal lines. The inspiration for the chorus just came, and I thought like that's actually quite cool, but it's so not metal, And then I thought like, well, why not taking this riff from the synth to the guitar? And suddenly I thought, wow, that actually has the vibe of some I Want Out or a Future World song, So that was the vibe there, and then I recorded it that way, and yeah, I never thought that they would like it for the album, but they did, and especially Andi, who helped me out with ideas too. He liked it from the beginning, and at one point he asked me if I had the vocals finished for that, because we always would sing on our demos. And I told him, not yet, I can do that for you tomorrow. And he said, wait, I might have some ideas for the verse. Can you send me the tracks? And I was like, well, no, just skip the studio tomorrow and we meet at my hotel room and we just do it together. And that happened, which was quite nice, because I love to cooperate with people, and do collaborations. And so that was actually quite nice, because it took us maybe 1 hour or two and the song was finished.
That's
I actually love that song. It's my, for the past week or so, it's been my song to do errands to. Like, I mean, if I have to run somewhere really quick and, I'm out of time, that's my song.
Yeah.
It just gives me that vibe, and everything.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking while I was composing it? I was thinking of driving a car.
Yeah.
I was really imagining like, okay, that would be a song, sit in the car, you would turn up the radio and
exactly.
that kind of vibe,
That's literally what I did like yesterday.
Perfect.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And how do you guys usually decide? I mean, because it looks like each one of you brought so much on the table, right? And there's so many songs from each one of you. So it sounds like you could have, like 3 albums out of them. So is it always a collective thinking to, finalize what actually makes it on the track list?
Yeah, we always go with the flow. Normally, and this time it happened the same way. It normally works that way, that we would listen together to the songs, which is quite nice, because when we have this date where we all meet, playing our demos to each other, it's very exciting, because you don't know what the other guys come up with, and it's like really, so you would listen to new stuff, and it's always exciting, and there you can get a feeling about what people might like or not, because some songs nobody cares, and then you're already thinking like, okay, I get it, and then on other songs, they are, you can see them moving to the song or to the beat, and that's what's happening. And then also before we had the pre-production, we all met like in the control room, sitting together and listening through all the songs again, and then it's like a group thing. We're just going, this is really good, and everybody agrees. And then there's another song, and everybody goes like, I'm not sure, I don't know, And then also we always pick songs for the flow, and then our management would be involved, which is great, because they know us. They've been with us since 2004. It's a big family now. It's not only the band. It's management. Charlie Bauerfeind, who I was recording with forever, So,
sure.
Yeah, and Dennis Ward was there as well. Who knows Andi for a long time? They've been together in Pink Room 69, and so yeah, big family listening to new songs, and then you can get a vibe, and then you like stuff and you don't like stuff, and all the stuff you like makes it on the record.
Yeah, that sounds like a really cool mechanism, man. And you guys are scheduled to take this album on the road on this massive co-headline tour with HammerFall, at least in Europe. But that's not until spring of 2022 at this point. And one question that got asked a lot when I announced that I'll be doing an interview with you, from the United States fans, was whether, they can expect to see you live before that, across the ocean, given that they are actually, resuming the concert at the moment.
Oh yeah, well, it's so hard for me to speak about concerts because we had to postpone 2 times, and so I'm not too excited yet because I was already very excited and then it didn't happen, So right now it's really hard to tell it's really hard to make plans. But if everything goes well, of course we would come back to the US, and of course I'm thinking of next year, hopefully,
Okay, so it's gonna be after a European tour, and that European tour with HammerFall looks absolutely amazing. There's only one question: why there is no Kyiv, Ukraine there, man? I mean, you gotta add it, man. Unless you don't, I have to fly somewhere.
Yeah, but you know how it works. Sometimes tours are expanding. I'm pretty sure if everything goes well, if this pandemic is kind of over, and people can enjoy concerts again, I'm pretty sure that our tour will expand as well. Because it's always happening, and then also you would maybe in 23 you would have festivals and stuff. So I'm pretty sure we will add dates to the dates we have right now.
Now, obviously, man, I know it's a very complicated thing, and you cannot just say, hey, I want to go to Ukraine or I want to go to Italy or something like that.
Right.
It's a lot of people involved and a lot of different factors. And moving away from the topic of the album itself, man, there were a couple of things that your fans really wanted to know and were really upvoted, man. And I just have to ask them. I gotta give it to them, man. What are your personal hobbies outside of music? I mean, what do you do when you're not composing or listening to heavy metal?
Oh, yeah, it's a lot. I gotta say, it's a lot of stuff I'm doing actually. Aside from Helloween, there's what a lot of people don't know is that they might probably have seen some advertisings of fashion, which I've shot because I was working as a photographer for that sense, making campaigns and catalogs and stuff like that, and doing this on the side for over 10 years now, 12 years, I think. And the funny thing is, in that scene, a lot of people don't know that I'm in Helloween, vice versa. So, and then producing, writing songs. I have created my alter ego in 2015, which is called Palast. It's a synth rock band, or synth rock project where with a totally different approach, and also a lot of fans they starting to discover it, know. But the same thing here. A lot of people there in this scene, they didn't know that I'm the guitar player in Helloween, which was actually quite funny because I was starting that out from scratch, starting out with a minivan, loading equipment, playing shows in front of 50 people, and playing some festivals, and then like other bands would approach us and they would come and say like, "Wow, you're so good. Where did you come from?" Suddenly and stuff like that, and then they're giving me tips, they're like, yeah, well, once I started out myself, blah, blah, blah. And they're giving me tips. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice of you. Thank you. And I kind of enjoy that there's no judgment because people clearly don't know who I am, which I like because it's different music. It's brand new for people because they don't know the band and they don't know my music there. They don't even know, and I'm a singer there, I'm the front guy in that project. And so people don't judge. They can't they judge it the way it is or criticize it the way it is, but they never have in mind, oh, this is the guy from Helloween. And I enjoy that. I enjoy it so much. And the same goes for all the other activities I'm doing. I love visual arts. I'm doing a lot of visual stuff, and doing collaborations with other artists, and so I just like that. That's my life. Being an artist. I recently got asked because people who found out what I'm doing on the side, they're like, how can he be that way and not being 100% metal?
Mm.
And I have the clear answer for that, because I was asking myself at one point, I'm just an artist who likes metal too, you know. So it's, for me, it's about artistry, and I wake up with it and I go to bed with it every day, you know. It's, for me, it's all about art and visuals and music, sound, you know. And so I could clearly see myself making sound design for movies or directing, you know. I direct music videos for other bands, you know, with my alter ego. So lots of fans don't know that, but that's what I do when I'm not playing guitar in Helloween.
This is great. And I guess that all of this experience will help you as a songwriter for Helloween at the same time, right? Not only, of course, because, you know, being a member of Helloween does not really define you, right? You are an artist and you happen to be a member of Helloween, and this is great. And you mentioned that you might actually, you know, go into the movie business at some point, right? You're partially in there already. So who are your favorite directors at the moment?
Well, I mean, there's my all-time favorite, David Lynch, of course,
Yeah.
who's also, a lot of people don't know that, who's also a great musician, you know.
Really?
And yeah, so I like people that way. I like when people are very open-minded, and you know, and when they're getting inspired by anything. You know, for me, it could be the visit of some gallery. It could be touring also. That's the thing I like about touring, is that you get inspired by people. You meet people, and you know, it's lots of people think of inspiration like they are founder of something, and I don't go that path, because we all are getting inspired by each other, and that's why I like other subjects, and that's why I like anything other than metal too, you know. Actually, I would force myself, before writing for a Helloween record, I would force myself to listen to anything but metal.
Really?
You know, because if you I believe if you're too deep into that, you can't deny inspiration. You can't reject any inspiration coming from any other band towards you. So I would listen to Scandinavian indie music, because I'm thinking they're great artists out there. You know, I would rather listen to a best of Björk album when I'm in the writing mood for Helloween, you know, because it just driving me away from that mindset, and I like that.
Exactly. You don't want to be a copy-paste version of someone, right? I mean, and if you did listen to a lot of Judas Priest, I have Judas Priest books in back there, but if you listen to a lot of Judas Priest, you will start sounding like Glenn or KK at some point, most likely, because...
At one point, yes. And of course, I mean, with a band like Helloween, of course, you have boundaries, and of course, like I said, when I start a song and it's totally not sounding like Helloween, I have to kind of translate it so it fits, you know. Like with Best Time, that was the case. With my voice on it, I have more this type of a pop vocalist. So with my voice on it and the synth, it was so Billy Idol, you know. And the whole song, I mean, now that you know the song, you can imagine that, you know. It could be clearly be a Billy Idol song, but then I have to translate it into the sound world of heavy metal, and which is also another topic, because it's very interesting to do that. Like, if you have a good song, it could be anything, any genre. If it's a good song, it's a good song, and you can easily translate it. Sometimes easy, sometimes not, but that's actually a lot of fun to say, okay, how can I play this on the guitar? And this is so inspiring. You know, for Palast, for instance, I recreated myself as a guitar player, because the guitar was just on the side, because the singing was more important, and the electronic sounds were more important. So what I did, I would forbid myself to play chords.
Really?
So for each song I was composing, I didn't play any chords. You know, I was just using like single notes, and I was thinking like a synth bass line or something. So I was forcing myself to play that way guitar, and it would use totally mangled and destroyed guitar sounds, not like the typical Chasing 800 tube screamer sound. I would more go into, what is the shittiest fuzz pedal I can find? You know, something that makes a lot of noise and is hard to control, you know, something like that. So I would create stuff like that because that would make the songwriting or drive the songwriting into another direction. And that's what I like.
This is great, pushing yourself to the boundaries, right, and exploring the new horizons of your abilities and skill sets. I mean, this is just what makes, I guess, you know, a good artist. And do you still play Dean guitars with the other band?
Absolutely. I just received a very nice Telecaster from Dean yesterday.
Nice.
Really nice. I love it. Yeah, I've been with them since 2006.
Yeah,
and great guys, you know, and we've always kept in touch, and we might work on something for the fans in the near future. But on the other hand, I was creating my own kind of model, which you can see in the Skyfall video.
Okay. So can we expect that to be your signature Dean at some point soon?
Yeah, I think with Dean we go more a traditional way, you know, because Dean is all about like caddies and flying V's and explorers. Yeah. But I clearly can see both working, you know. Yeah. It's same here, you know. It's all about like when can you cross the boundaries, you know.
This is awesome, man. Sascha, thank you so much. I don't want to keep you here for too long, so just a couple of more questions if you don't mind, and then
shoot your best one.
I have a lot of best ones, man. I have so many questions that were submitted to me. I think this is the most I've ever gotten my, you know, during all the, you know, lifetime for the show. But there's just one that I really wanted to ask you, man. Me personally, this was actually not submitted, and I'll go with it because I can. But if there was one musician, either dead or alive, with whom you could play on stage with, who would that be?
Peter Gabriel.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
But because Peter Gabriel or Phil Collins, either of both, you know, because like I said before, when I was starting consciously listening to music. I remember when In the Air Tonight came out, you know, of Phil Collins, and I was sitting in the backseat of my mother's car when she were driving me to the kindergarten, and you know, music started for me very early. So like since I can remember, I was singing along. I couldn't speak English, you know, so I was just like trying to copy the phonetics, you know. And I was singing all the time, like my whole childhood. I was singing along to pop songs that were on the radio, and so there was a lot of Peter Gabriel and a lot of Phil Collins, and I'm just thinking they're geniuses.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't take guilt in this pleasure. I love both, right? I mean, and I would put them on, you know.
There's no guilt about good musicians.
Absolutely, man. If it's good music, it's good music. I enjoyed, I'll be honest with you, several Eurovision performances this year. Like, I mean, I have two daughters. One of them is 3-year-old, so she would like go on, you know, and repeat anything that has a catchy beat. So I mean, we would listen to several Eurovision songs on repeat, and when I'm talking about on repeat, it means like 80 to 90 times a day. But I actually like them. I enjoy them. I could pretend that I don't because I'm a tough metal head, but in reality, I don't. I love them.
I mean, you can clearly tell if something is really good. I mean, when Billie Eilish came out, for instance, I was pretty impressed because that was something new, and people are getting so much into, you know, they think rebellion is going against the hype. If someone is hyped, it's shit, you know, something like that. That's how people, especially in the metal scene. And, you know, I mean, just look at me. I'm not this long-haired old guy in spandex, you know, and I was the whole time since I joined Helloween, I was the most rebellious character of the band, you know. I would never do what fans would expect, and I would always like recreate myself, and I would always do things that are not so metal in a way, but still I'm writing metal songs and I love metal, you know, like Michael Schenker, for instance, influenced me a lot on my guitar playing when I started out playing guitar. So I love the music, but not only that. So why can't be something that's new coming out and being hyped for a reason? In that case, I mean, Billie Eilish is just great. You know, it's just great. And why should I force myself not to admit it? So people would be happy about that. You know, it doesn't make sense. So if you like artists that would be on Eurovision and you like them, because as you said the right term, catchy beat.
Yeah,
If a beat is catchy, it's catchy. You know,
that's true.
and if something is good, you know, it's like, you know, then you know, there's another thing. I have a question for you. You know, I'm a vegan, you know, so I would never consume anything that's from an animal. But you know, would you eat a vegan dish if it tastes good?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you wouldn't go and say like, no, I don't eat it because there's no meat in there. It makes no sense, you know. But I'm guessing you're a meat eater, so.
Yeah.
So the same goes with music, I think. You know, it's not the same. It's not the same thing. But you know, if something's good, it's good, and you gotta open your mind for anything that comes along your way. And that's what life is about. Life is too short to stick to boundaries. You know.
100%. And I think that, you know, I am a meat eater, and but I do take what is it, 7 weeks because of religious reason. I'm Orthodox Christian, so I take several weeks out of eating meat, and I stay completely vegan, you know, 100%. And I'll be honest with you, I enjoy those those days a lot, because there's a lot of really good vegan food which I love, and it's a matter of habit a lot of times, right?
Absolutely, and cultural things, you know, and so is the metal scene. I wouldn't even blame the metal scene so much, because a lot of people are saying, I'm not ashamed of telling you that I like this or that. Nobody should be ashamed of anything.
Anything.
You know? Nobody should be. And I can also see that in the metal scene happening already. I remember, like in the early of the 2000s, there was a big shift happening in the metal scene. You would suddenly go to a Helloween show and see people with a Depeche Mode shirt in the audience. You know, it's like, it's not the way it used to be in the 90s, for instance. You know, it's not the way it used to be. It's different. People are way more open-minded than what they think themselves, you know. And it's not like in the beginning of the 90s when everybody denied that they like big hair and cheesy music, you know, because that was a weird thing, you know, when 92 came around and you had
one night everyone hated metal. Like,
yeah. And everybody kind of denied that they were listening to Bon Jovi, you know, and I was like, what? Okay, why did they sell so many records when nobody listened to that, you know? It's you know, it's just plain stupid. I think people would even enjoy life more if they would look a bit more left and right. Not saying that nobody does, but I'm just thinking, if it comes to music, there's so much stuff to discover, especially nowadays. It's not only stuff that is happening on the radio, you know. I see that happening a lot in electronic music, and as I said before, I love Scandinavian indie music, because great artists, brilliant artists. There would be artists, they would go totally metal with recording 8-minute songs, because or making 2 minutes intro, because they don't care, you know. And suddenly you don't have that in metal anymore that much, you know. So it's crazy, you know. It's more fun to live if you're open-minded.
100%. And I'll be honest with you, I personally enjoy much more. I listen to indie music a lot, but I enjoy it much more than cookie cut, you know, power metal that comes out today, or you know, or some other stuff.
It's about the vibe. It's about what moves you. You know, if you see your 3-year-old daughter moving to catchy rhythms,
it's because it's good.
Yeah, because it does something to her. It's about the vibe that comes along. It's always about the vibe. It's like I said before with this album. It's all we wanted to have is a good vibe. You know, that's. I remember Kai is always about that. he always, he would never come and construct something. He would be always go, but somehow I don't feel it. I must feel it, And then he's getting really busy about that, like I must feel it. And I totally get it, because it's all about the vibe.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. Thank you so much for your time. The last one, and this is something we usually do to close the episode, and I'd absolutely love to hear it from you. Can you tell us just one craziest story which happened to you on the road with the band?
There happened so many crazy stories. Okay, there's one. Once we've been invited by some guy from the underworld after a show. I can't tell who he was and where. But it was kind of a barbecue after show, and we've been like really tired, and so the promoter came up to us and he told us, yeah, well, listen, there's this barbecue of this guy so and you should go there. And we've been like, oh no, can we skip it? After show we're tired, we don't want to go there. And then he told us, well, you better should. So it was that kind of situation, and. So we had like half an hour time to shower, and then we would be picked up at the hotel, and then we would have those hammers coming along, 3 hammers picking us up, and girls in the cars and stuff like that, like totally cliche. And then you would drive through the city, and then there was a translator girl, and she would tell us, and this building is owned by that guy, and this building is owned by that guy, and here's a stadium built, and that's where you're gonna play at one point, blah blah blah. And so and then we arrived at where the barbecue was happening, and you had like one guy guarding the fence, with some machine gun and stuff. It was like really scary,
What?
So you would come in there, and it was like I can't tell too much, but it was like really crazy because I always had this feeling like, who is this guy and what could happen? I mean, just imagine he would be in a fight with someone, and the other crew would come in like shooting everybody.
Desperate shit.
And incidentally, was there, something like that. So yeah, that was like one of the craziest stories
This
that happened.
This is fun. I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm just really hopeful that you and all the other bands, in fact, will be able to hit the road once again very soon, and and
absolutely
bring the real music to real concerts, because online concerts, streaming platforms, and so on and so forth is great for the time being, and of course it is part of our today's world. Yet I personally believe, and I always say that rock and roll and heavy metal actually lives in sweaty clubs and on festivals and stadiums. This is the real rock and roll that we all are longing for and waiting for. So absolutely, man.
Agree to that.
Yeah, Sascha, thank you so much for your time. And any last message for the fans?
Yeah, I just hope everybody stays healthy, and as you said, so going back to the live shows and enjoying the time with each other.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Sascha Gerstner was here. Just as a reminder, Helloween's studio album, self-titled studio album, will be out in just a couple of days. So if you haven't pre-ordered yet, make sure you do that. And if you're watching this past the release date, make sure you check it out and share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sascha, thank you so much for your time, man. Keep rocking.
Take care, man.
Thanks.